Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to the Ironman Lake Placid countdown vlog. This is our second installment. We are 26 weeks out from Ironman Lake Placid, just half a year to go. Feels like a lot and far too little all at the same time. As a quick reminder, there's going to be two parts to this vlog. The first is going to be, is intended to be evergreen so that it can be applied to anybody going through an Ironman training cycle. And then the second will be more specific to the Ironman that we're training for right now, which is Ironman Lake Placid. And today I'm just going to share a couple of quick thoughts on the Ironman Lake Placid bike course. So that'll be in the second half of the vlog. All right, first and foremost, a week in review. Had a good week. There was ups and downs, to some positives and negatives, and I can quickly touch base on those. I had a total time training this week of 9 hours and 52 minutes. A little bit less than what I was hoping for, but a couple of wins, first and foremost. Number one, I was able to be consistent this week, which was great. Always trying to just find consistency in training is a challenge, but that's what I know based on my experience is going to help get all of us to the finish line. So first things first, though, I want to call attention to Thursday. This indoor cycling for 30 minutes. I did get this in Thursday night. That was my big goal for the week. I'm trying to find a little bit more time in my schedule for cycling because I'm a little bit behind where I was last year. And I just know that, we know that at an Ironman distance, your bike is extremely important, both because it's such a long bike ride. So having a good bike split can be helpful, but also just sets you up for the run. You got to be strong enough on the bike to be able to get off and go run a marathon. So I had a big win on Thursday night, getting in this indoor cycling ride. I was hoping this was going to be an hour, but we had some family things come up, so I had to cut it short about halfway through. So nonetheless, I think I can do this consistently, and I will do my best to stick to Thursday night trainer sessions moving forward. That was my positive for the week. My negative for the week is, as you can see, Friday there was no workouts. I was scheduled at our local YMCA to have a pool swim. I did my part. I got up. I showed up at 5 a.m. With all the other athletes there swimming. We were waiting to get into the pool, and then unfortunately the lifeguard came out and said the pumps were broken and that the pool would be closed. So then I had a decision to make. Do I go and try to get something in? And I'm sure we're all in the same boat. We just have so much going on. You have these windows of time when you can work out, and once you've missed the window, it's hard to kind of make something up. But I knew that I was going into a pretty big weekend, I should say, of aerobic training. So I thought, you know what? I'm a little bit tired anyway. Let me just take a rest day. And now, a couple days later, I think that was the right call. So I had a 0 day on Friday, but I think it all worked out in the end. Okay, looking forward to again, we're 26 weeks out. The next week of training, I have nothing on my calendar right now that says that I'm going to be juggling training around. But I didn't last week either and had to make some adjustments. So we'll see how it goes. But looking ahead, my goal is just going to be to hit a similar time target of maybe 10 to 11 hours. With that said, I want to add just one thing about overall training volume when it comes to like what is necessary to complete an Ironman. Athletes start Ironman training at every level, from extremely experienced and their bodies can handle a ton of volume to completely inexperienced, and those athletes have to start with much lower volume and then work their way up. There is no secret sauce to how much time you need to put towards Ironman, but this is my 7th Ironman training cycle, 7th year doing these races, and the only piece of advice I can offer athletes is this: you need to be training at a level or a weekly amount that, number one, your body can handle on a consistent basis, and that your schedule can handle on a consistent basis. Last year, I was training about 13 to 14 hours a week at this point. My body can handle that volume of training, and I can do that week in and week out. My schedule also allowed it last year. This year, although my body, I think, can still handle it, my schedule cannot. So that's the reality that I'm dealing with right now, and I'm sure many of you are as well. Um, the target should be week in, week out consistency, and do not try to do these big swings up and down where you're going to do 15 hours one week and then down to 7 hours the next week. Um, if you can't find consistency, you are going to really have a hard time ramping up the volume as we really get much, much closer, to the race. Is it the end of the world if you're up and down right now? No, of course not. But the goal is consistency, and I think that's the most appropriate way to look at your schedule from a training and life perspective, as we move through a training process. So, all right, great. Let's move on next to the more Lake Placid specific part of the vlog. All right, and we're back. Part two of the Ironman Lake Placid countdown vlog. We're going to talk specifically about the bike course today and just some things that I think everyone should keep in mind as we are going through our training cycles. First and foremost, I just want to call attention to the elevation on this course. What I have up here is my Garmin Connect. This is from last year's Ironman. Okay. And what I want you to pay attention to is this number right here, the total ascent. If you look at the Ironman Lake Placid website, it actually has the total ascent. If you were to kind of duplicate the map that they have there, it almost reads like the total ascent on this course is over 8,000 feet, which is incorrect. I live pretty close here. We live in Connecticut, and my family vacations up here a couple times a year. I've been able to ride this course, I think, 15 times around the loop, and I've never gotten anything more than maybe 6,200 feet of elevation for the whole course. So, what you're plan on about 6,000 feet of elevation gain. Obviously, everyone's watch is a little bit different. Even mine is different ride to ride. But last year's Ironman, this is the number I clocked, 5742 feet. So that's just something to keep in mind as you go about your training. This isn't an 8,000 or 8,200 foot course. It's still all hills, basically. There's a 10-mile section on the loop that is pretty flat. You're going to do that twice, but plan on about 90 of the 112 miles being up and down. All right. So what I want to talk quickly about today and just bring everyone's attention to this is the elevation profile of the course itself. So I want to characterize the types of elevation that you're going to come across here on this course. For the most part, these are not like punchy climbs. These are long grinding climbs. And that's, I think, what we should be keeping in mind as we're training. Yes, it's up and down, as you can see very clearly. But the realities here are that it is going to be a course where you're spending a lot of time just kind of grinding, not on super steep hills, but long, gradual climbs. And I just want to quickly sorry about that, call attention to three specific areas that I think make a pretty big difference on the course itself. I'm going to make my face here a little bit smaller. Okay, first, this area right here. Coming out of town, you go past the ski jumps, and you have a long grinding climb here. This is actually what I actually think this is the worst hill on the entire course. This is right out of town on both loops. This is really going to be something that kind of stings you. The first time through, your heart rate is still super high from the swim, and the second time through, you're 60 miles into your bike ride basically, and so you're going to have to grind your way up this hill. It can be very windy here as well. Finish climbing up to what is Cascade Pass, and then we're going to do our big downhill, which we'll talk about in a separate video. Then we're going to move forward here to our second grinding climb. This is the climb from Jay up towards Wilmington. This is another big grinding climb that's going to take a good amount of time and a good amount of energy out of your legs. Lastly, we actually have this piece here that this is basically the climb up from Wilmington, but just keep track of the first um, the first parts in here where you're near Whiteface Mountain, all the way up to the notch. It can be a very windy area, and also again kind of a long, hard, grinding climb. The road is really good in all of these areas, so you're actually going to be able to move pretty well. But if I'm looking back at my history on the bike course here and thinking about like where have I lost the most time or what would I focus on, I would focus on those grinding climbs. As you can see, the rest of it goes up and down the whole way, basically. But there's going to be value that you get back from focusing on longer, sustained efforts that not they're not out of your saddle punchy. You can even still be an arrow for a lot of it, but you're going to be grinding uphill. So I wanted to leave you all today with that piece of information. Again, we have a long way to go, but as you're thinking about structuring your training, as you're thinking about what are the things that I need to focus on to do well on a bike course like this, I'd say focus on the grinders. It is going to be a big day, a big elevation day, no matter what. Not exactly what it says on their website, but focus on the grinders, get really efficient in those areas. And I think you will see that time come down pretty significantly on the bike course. All right, so we are through week 27. We are 26 weeks out, half a year to go. Good luck training. We'll check back in next week, and I hope you all find some consistency in your training moving forward.